officially and welcome to this month's Virtual Cafecito Lecture. I hope everybody is having a great week and that you have your cup of coffee or tea ready to enjoy this session with us. My name is Natalie de la Torre Salas, and I am a public archaeologist for the Florida Public Archaeology Network Southwest region. We are thrilled to continue this series with a conversation on archives, memory, and digital preservation. Today's cafecito, as you can see in the screen, is titled Digitizing Puerto Rico's Cultural Patrimony, the work at the Archivo General Archives, with Hilda Teresa Ayala, who is a dedicated professional in the field of library and archival sciences, with a passion for preserving cultural heritage and facilitating access to information. She holds a master's in library and information science from the University of Puerto Rico and a master's in archival studies from the University of British Columbia. She is currently serving as the Archivera General de Puerto Rico, and she has led major initiatives to digitize archival materials, improve the environmental conditions of the collections there, and secure support from institutions such as National Endowment for the Humanities, Council on Library and Information Resources, and the Andrew Mellon Foundation. So before we begin, I want to thank Hilda for being with us today and for sharing all of her knowledge and expertise into this essential and evolving work. A reminder to everyone to please keep yourselves muted. And that after the presentation, we will open the floor for a Q&A session. So you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions, or just simply drop the questions in the chat. We will definitely make sure that all get answered. Okay, so now without further ado, I hope once again your cafecito is ready, and I'll pass it over to Hilda.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie, and thanks everybody. It makes me very happy to be able to share with you a little bit of what is happening at the Archivo General in Puerto Rico. I have been serving as Archivera General for the past 5 years, and this is just a little bit of everything that we have been working on. For maybe some of you that has no idea what the Archivo General de Puerto Rico is, we were established in 1955. This year marks our 70th anniversary by the law number 5 that made available all the record management program and also created the General Archive in Puerto Rico. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and disseminate the historical documentary heritage of Puerto Rico, and we have over 90,000 cubic feet of public and private records. Here is a picture of the building. The building was established in 1873. The Bacardi company used to be here in this building, and we are known and recognized as the main research institution in the island, and we are responsible for all the public policy related to historical records in Puerto Rico, and we work with all the branches of the government, executive, legislative, and also the judicial branch in the island. As an archive, we have multiple functions that help us enable you to get access to our collections. One of the most important tasks that we work with is with the assessment and the selection of the collection. We know that this is the most hard part in any archive, because whatever is that we get here is what you will be able to enjoy now or in the future. And we do it through 2 main different ways. Number one, we work through the law number 5 to evaluate all the public record that has lost the administrative value. We evaluate we call them disposition lists, and through those lists, we select what it has historical value, and that enters the collection. And also we work with private donors that want their records to be part of Puerto Rico's legacy. The assessment includes an analysis of their achievements or contribution to the island or the archipelago or like our community in general. And depending on the evaluation, then it gets entered also into the collection. After they are here, the first thing that we do is work with the preservation, which is our most important task. In here, documents get clean. If we are going to be working with a further digitization project, they will be all the different metals that are used to assemble the records are removed. And we also change the boxes and the folders into containers that are archival safe. During that process, we then moved into organizing and describing the collection, another essential task related to consulting the records in Puerto Rico, which has to do with how the records come together so you can use them. In here, we evaluate and we create what we call the descriptive guides or the inventories. And after that, they are available on a reference room for you to enjoy for your research or your different project activities that you're doing. We also have different ways to provide reference. And we provide access not only in the physical general archive, but with the digitization project, we have been able to also provide access to records in digital form. Maybe you cannot make it into the archive, and we will digitize the material so you can have it wherever you are. And lately, since 2020, we established a digitization center. Thank you to the Mellon Foundation for providing the funding. And it has been the project that we have been working the most over the past 5 years, digitizing collections that were either in danger or collections that really were not that accessible to the public. And finally, we as an archive has the responsibility to provide education like this that we're doing today for the people to learn what we have, who we are, what we do, and how they can best take advantage of our public documents. In 2024, we launched the Colecciones Digitales del Archivo General de Puerto Rico that I will also be sharing with you today in case you have not had a chance to explore what are we doing with our records so you can have more access to them. In terms of our collections, we have records from 1722, all related to the Spanish colonial era. The records before that time are in Spain in different archives. One of the digitization initiatives that we have been working also during these past years are working directly with the archives in Spain to increase the digitization initiative to records that are withheld there. We have the records from 1898, which is the records related to the United States colonial era until 1948. We also had another initiative to work with the National Archives in the United States so we can digitize part of the records that they withhold there. So I always like to remember that although we are the General Archives in Puerto Rico, we have a lot of shared patrimony throughout the world and into other places where you can find most of our record, especially all those related to all colonial times with the United States or Spain are in their archive. After 1952, most of the records are here in the General Archive, but we also have the ex-governors foundations that withhold collections of the governors. We have Sila Maria Calderón, we have Luis Muñoz Marín, we have the Piñero Library, we have the Ferrer Library, Ricardo Rosselló Library and the Luis Portuño Library. They have their own private collections, but the public records that belong to the Puerto Ricans are completely accessible to everybody else. And we withhold records up to mostly this time. I think the earliest records is from the latest, like 2000. Here are some examples of the records that you can actually find related to the colonial time in Puerto Rico. Most of the documents that are here are already digitized, except the judicial records and the nodal protocols. We cannot digitize specifically the nodal protocols because of private restrictions, but we are working with the public works, which is in Spanish, Obras Públicas. This is one of the longest trail back records that we have here at the General Archive. And we currently digitize part of everything that has to do with the railways and trains here in Puerto Rico. We also have what we call the Spanish governors records. These records were taken by the US when we were colonized by the United States, but then they were bring it back to Puerto Rico. These records are digitized, well, microfilm in that time, and are available on the National Archives of the United States collections, but physically we do have them here. Later, when we move into the US governors, we have our second biggest record group, which is the Fortaleza. Fortaleza has, since the 1898, include all the records of all the governors in Puerto Rico. So those that are not inside the private foundations can be found in here in Fortaleza. We also have the records of the Instrucción Pública, which during this time was a lot of changes in the education system in Puerto Rico. You can see that the public works also continues. So that's why it's another one of our biggest collections in here. And when we move into the 1952, we increase into records of the police department, the education department, public transportation department. We just recently finished inventorying all the records from the health department and will be available for the first time in a few more weeks. This was possible thanks to a volunteer that has been working for the past years here, getting into the deposits with one of our archivists, collecting all the basic information so we can make it available. There is a lot of research that people are very interested in that. And we have been also working through different projects with interns and volunteers processing most of our records from the recent era. Just because we know that everybody is eager to have the opportunity to learn about what is going on with the agencies that are still in charge of how Puerto Rico works. Besides that, we have the records from the municipalities in Puerto Rico, specifically from the 19th century and the earliest 20th century. These are the municipalities that we have the records here at the General Archive, but there are also 5 municipal historical archives that were signed into an agreement with the Archivo General, so they could withhold their records in their towns so people can enjoy them. And that is Caguas, Ponce, Carolina, San Germán, and Mayagüez. They have their own archive and we work in collaboration with them, but the rest of the records from the different towns are here in the General Archive. Like I mentioned, we also have some collections that are private collections, and these are some of our most important ones. We have the Agustín Stahl collection. This is distributed into 3 different places. So the Archivo General has part of the watercolors from Agustín Stahl. We also have part of their private collection of manuscripts. The other part is in the Universidad de Mayagüez, the Colegio, the University of Mayagüez. And the colecciones, the art collection from the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña also has a part. The reason why is because that's how Agustín wanted it. He wanted his collection to be in different places. The other collection that is very important is the Robert Johannes collection, and it's because he was a great collectionist. Part of Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña archaeology collection comes from Junghans. We don't have it here at the archive. It is in the Instituto de Cultura private deposit. But here we have multiple records. It also included books, and all the books can be found in the National Library collection. We have particular collection of José de Diego Muñoz Rivera in terms of other kinds of personalities, Monserrate de Lis and Elisa Tavares. They're both from the music era, and we have their private collection. It includes music sheets, and it also includes some personal papers, and the Luis Llorens Torres archive that, although it's more focused on his side as a lawyer, it also includes part of his written documentation. In order for us to provide services to the community, we are organized into different service units, and this provides that you can get tailored orientation. So if it's your first time coming to the archive, you will have to go into the reference room. They will provide you the primary orientation depending on your research interest to where you should be going. And they will also provide you all the access related to the paper collections, all the maps, all the newspaper collection, and everything that is paper. People will consult it in this area. We also have a very beautiful reference collections from historical and rare books from Puerto Rico. We also include inventories from other archives that are located in the archipelago, so people can have access to those too, and other international archives that may withhold records from Puerto Rico. We recently acquired the private library collection from the electric authority power, so la Autoridad de Energía Eléctrica, the PRITCO, the Department of Economic Development, and we also have a specialized library on everything that it has to be related to the sugar mills in Puerto Rico. So we have Central Mercedita, Principary, all the journals, the magazines that were published around that. And also the archive is the liaison between the Notary Inspections Office. So we have deposited here in the archive all the protocols that are older than 60 years. So we share that responsibility with them. Like I mentioned, Mapoteca, which is where our maps and drawings and public plans are stored. And we also have a collection of newspapers, all that we call hemeroteca. All the collection of the newspapers is digitized, so you can find it online. We also have a music and sound collection. In Spanish es el Archivo de Música y Sonido, and it works with our music and music collections. It has over 50,000 compositions, over 700 composers, more than 10,000 recordings. They are being slowly digitized. Not all of them are still available, but you can find most of the music sheets. They are completely available. They are a wide variety of genres that are in this collection, and most of these one, compared to the public records, it comes from private donations. It is interesting because we can find beautiful public records, like for example the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña. They used to compile around the archipelago. They will record what was going on in the festivals or activities that they would do in the radio. And we do have those sounds, and part of the catalog that we have of music sheets, you can find also online. We have been digitizing little by little the collection of music sheets, and this is some of the authors that you can find online. We also have the photography collection. This is where all of our images live. It has more than 185,000 records of photograph negatives in all their different formats, including black and white, color, glass, metal, and you name it. And it is also comprised of government and private collections, but most of our records in this area are from the government. Two great funds that you can explore is el Fondo de Instrucción Pública. This one originated in the information office associated to the Fortaleza. Later, it was transferred into the public education or Instrucción Pública. We have the collection, for example, of Mr. Rossman, we have Jack Delano, and the Institute of Puerto Rican Culture, which is the collection that has the most, 3 seconds, sorry, no, we have, I'm sorry, we have the collection of the negatives of the Institute of Puerto Rican Culture. This is our biggest collection with over 25,000 photographs. This is where all the Puerto Rican culture has been documented. We have all the events that happened at the Instituto since its foundation in 1955, which is also the anniversary of the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña, just passed now in June. And we have the greatest documentation related how Don Ricardo and all the team would go around Puerto Rico just documenting the festivals, the theaters, all the music. We also have the photograph of how the archives came to be, how the records got here, and all the process of making it into what is it now. And besides that, we also have the moving images collection. In here, we have about 4,000 films and over 2,000 videotapes. Every day we are working little by little to also digitize part of the collection. And most of the records that we have so far is related or created by the government, but we are also a television archive, and we also hold collections from private, oh, I forgot the name of the producers of movies and documentaries in Puerto Rico. But we also have, as part of our collection, a variety of records that have been rescued through different initiatives. As you know, audiovisuals are very vulnerable because of their way, their format, and their medium. And we have collections here that are very rich. Like I mentioned in the photographic collection, we also have part of the education, the community education program, or what we call the DIVETCO, División de Educación para la Comunidad. This division was essential in Puerto Rico during the mid-20s to help educate the community into the changes that were happening. And because Puerto Rico was changing from being from agriculture to more industrialized, they would use movies, books, and other kinds of materials, not just like the regular text, to increase that education and help them understand what was going on. And we have part of the collection of the movies that we call the Libetco. And also the Institute of Puerto Rican Culture produced a lot of documentaries during that time with the same purpose, just to document what was going on in Puerto Rico and help people be more involved into their culture and appreciate it. As part of the records, we also have las carpetas de la policía, that's how they're called in Spanish, or the police records. These were created illegally by the intelligence division of the police. They were confiscated because of their statute, and in the early 2000s, they were saved from being destructed, and they were transferred to the archive. We have the records of the on a claim carpetas after a lot of debate of what they were going to do with these files, because of everything that encompassed for everybody that was involved in them. They opened these files so the affected people would claim them, and they could have them back. But those that were not claimed, they were first going to be destroyed, but they were saved and then transferred to the archive. And it's not only the carpeta or that file that they illegally raised about one person or an institution, but it also encompasses audiovisuals, like audios, videos, and a lot of photographs that were taken in the like cover agents. and they provide an amazing view of what was going on in these activities. Always as a librarian, I always think that it's interesting to see how something that was completely illegal, it also had it for us now in this time, that opportunity for you to learn about something that was not documented in neither other way. So although it was a very unlawful thing to do, it is important for us to keep it. So it is a reminder for the state of what cannot happen again, but it's also a learning tool for everybody else of the importance of what was happening during these times. So just a little bit about what do we do here at the archive. We have our webpage, and in a webpage you can find most of our information resources, but we can have orientation either to phone, email. Many people that come here like every day just to do their research. Since the pandemic, we started providing digitizing services for people in the community, specifically for those that cannot get to the archive. Once you know what you need after you have researched our research guides, you can select either like a folder or a box, and for a price we can digitize that and send them to you. We also provide curated exhibits, activities for school, universities. We receive a lot of students that are doing their PhD or their masters with specific topics, and we prepare specialized guides so we can help them navigate better the records that we have here, because we know that archives are always a little bit complicated. And we also create different exhibits. We also have an exhibits with our digital collections that you can find online. I will share the link later, and different conferences around the year so we can disseminate the different projects that we have. These are two of our most recent projects. Like I mentioned, those that were illegally compiled by the police, we were able to digitize part of the recordings, and they are available online. There's over 368 items. You have a little glimpse into 50 of those records, and you can find protests, meetings, commemorations of big activities, speeches of important personalities of that time. And we also launched around 2 years ago the digital exhibits of the General Archives, and we try to complement what we're doing here physically with the digital exhibits, because we also understand that not everybody can make it. So we want to continue to share our patrimony in all the ways possible. And most recently, we launched the digital collections of the General Archive. In here, we are placing little by little the different collections that we have been digitizing thanks to the Mellon Foundation support. This project began in 2020, and it has been a beautiful challenge. But lastly, last year we were able to publish it. You can scan the code and you can start exploring. Either way, I'm gonna show you. But little by little, we will be sharing the different collections that we have. Currently, we're about almost like hitting the 7,000 items that are available for research. We are including a diversity of materials because we want this to be like a potpourri of the different collections that we have at the General Archive. So you can find about 24 collections, more than 7,000 items, and in that people sometimes don't understand, and they say, well, 6,000, that's like nothing, it's very little. But what they don't understand is that it's over 200 images. So you can have one book that has 400 pages and it's available for research. So it takes a lot of time for it. This is just a little bit of the collections that are already available online. So like I mentioned, you have the collection of the newspapers, which is the hemeroteca. This is So it's this one. These are the newspapers that we have. We are also going to be working with the digitization of some of the research, the journals that it's part of also that collection. In here, you have the Actas del Cabildo. So this is the most important collection that the General Archive has. It's also the oldest from 1722. These records compile not only the history of what was going on in San Juan, but actually how Puerto Rico came to be as it is. You can see here that there is a transcription of these records because the originals were very deteriorated. And there was a group of professors from the University of Puerto Rico that transcribed the records, and they were out of services until now that we were able to digitize them. Of course, this required a lot of effort and love from our paper conservator that was able to provide the stabilization needed for us to be able to digitize it and make it available online. So for the first time in over 60 years, people are going to be able to see the original record and the transcript of it. And hopefully with the technology, we will be able to learn more about that transcript project. We also digitized part of the correspondence that the governor would receive. And inside that, we find the publications that were sent. This is an incredible collection because all the different agencies and offices would produce a report, or would do a journal, a magazine, or a newsletter, and they were all sent to the governor for it to see. And some of these are maybe the only copy that survives. So we are very happy to share part of these publications that they also have been digitized. As I mentioned, we were digitizing with the public works, obras públicas, specifically with the trains, the collection that is related to the train that almost went around the island. It is interesting because when you read the documents, it's not only related to like how the train works or how it was constructed, but it would also document the lands that they were taking away from people, and they would do such descriptions of the areas, like the houses that were there, the trees that were there, the families that also live in the places. And we also have digitized part of the collection of the Journal of Obras Públicas because it documents extremely beautifully how Puerto Rico started to develop. And you can see the different articles related of how they work with their, like the roads, how they constructed the highways or the problems that they would find. And it's a very resourceful resource. We have part of the music sheet collections. All of the collections that we digitize are on the public domain. So we know how important it is for people to be able to reuse the content in their own researches. So we make sure that everything that we digitize, specifically in the newspaper collection and the music sheet collections, are available for the public for reuse. Novedades de la Policía is also a very interesting collection. So in the districts, there is a logbook that all the police are required to fill every time there is an incident. So we are digitizing part of these records. They portray from a simple felony, like stealing a plantain or a chicken, into documenting people that were rising against the government, like as far as las partidas sediciosas, and also public events that maybe now are legal, but before they weren't, like games in the streets, etc., etc. The recent collection that we digitized related to the police records are all the towns with sugar mills. So we can also see the people that escaped the areas or that were against their la libreta del jornalero, things like that. Some words I just don't know in English and I forget. We also have like I mentioned, the watercolors from Agustin Stahl. This is a beautiful collection. He came to Puerto Rico and documented our flora. Most of the plants that are here are still available today, and this is the earliest records that we have available of how he saw them for the first time. In terms of more audiovisual collections, we have the Felisa Rincón de Gautier, which was the first mayor of San Juan, the lady mayor of San Juan. She helped a lot of the communities, and she also documented how San Juan was evolving through the time, and her collection is magnificent. Like I think it's over 10,000 images that are there, and we have been digitizing little by little the collection. Like I mentioned, the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña, over 25,000 negatives, and we have been working with them. I think we are around the 11,000 negatives that are already digitized. Not all of them are still available online. We're getting there. We also worked recently with a photographer that was doing a project. His name is Chris Gregory, and he helped through a grant digitize also part of the Carpeta de la Policía, but specifically the images and the negatives. And we have shared some of them in the digital collections. It's interesting to see because these were illegally captured and their intent was different, but many of these photographs have the people identified on them. So they have a number, and in the back of the image you can see the names of the different people that were participating in these events. And as I mentioned, in the audiovisual collection, we also include records related to the television. We are lucky to have the collection of Telemundo, which is one of our news programs in here. They do not have sound, because what we got is all those things that they didn't use for making it into the television. So they discarded everything that was disposed. We got those, but they're beautiful images, and it would be an interesting project to get people to help us identify specific area or specific people. But the collection is little by little also being digitized. So one thing that is very important and that I always take the time is that I want people to always understand that what we do in digitization is not just put a paper under a camera and then just capture it. So we created this video, and I'm just going to share it so you can see what really goes behind the scenes when and before we do a collection available. Please confirm that you can still hear.
El Archivo General de Puerto Rico ha incursionado en la aplicación de tecnologías para transformar los recursos de formato análogo a digital. Gracias al apoyo de la Fundación Andrew W. Mellon y sus iniciativas presidenciales, en julio 2020 iniciamos un proyecto de digitalización que atiende desde la preservación física hasta la preservación digital, utilizando tecnologías de primera e implementando en cada fase las guías y estándares conocidos internacionalmente. Acompáñanos a conocer cómo transformamos nuestro patrimonio documental y colocamos nuestra historia a tu alcance. Cada colección y objeto es particular, pero desarrollamos un flujo de trabajo que nos ayuda a mantener las mejores prácticas. En cada etapa se llevan a cabo tareas específicas para preservar nuestras colecciones, tanto en su formato físico como digital. La primera etapa es la selección, buscando un balance entre recursos en deterioro, los utilizados por la comunidad o aquellos con un alto potencial de uso. Una vez seleccionado, se analiza su estado de conservación y preparación. Si cumple con las características necesarias, entra al flujo de trabajo. La segunda etapa es la preservación y conservación. Aquí se corrobora el orden, se remueven grapas, hilos o presillas, se limpia el polvo, se folian las páginas y se ubican en nuevos contenedores de calidad archivística. Si necesitan estabilización, se envían al taller de conservación para lavado, deacidificación, remoción de adhesivos, encapsulación o reparaciones. Una vez listos, pasan a digitalización. En esta tercera etapa, según el tipo de material o el tamaño, se asigna al equipo de digitalización adecuado para capturar el objeto y producir la versión digital. Para cumplir con aspectos esenciales de la preservación digital, seguimos las guías PAGI, que dictan las mejores prácticas para la digitalización de patrimonio cultural. Se captura el objeto en su totalidad, incluyendo las portadas y los cartapacios. Durante la digitalización se hace la primera evaluación para asegurar que el objeto esté enfocado y completo. Luego pasamos a la fase de control de calidad y postprocesamiento. En esta cuarta fase se realiza el control de calidad, que comienza con una inspección visual de los materiales digitalizados en comparación con el objeto físico. Se observa el color y las características, corroborando que la versión digital sea lo más parecida posible al original. No se manipulan las imágenes ni se realizan correcciones de color o estéticas. Luego se producen los derivados de los archivos digitales y se aplica el reconocimiento de caracteres a documentos mecanografiados. Finalmente, se corrobora que todos los metadatos técnicos, administrativos y de preservación se hayan capturado correctamente. La penúltima fase es la preparación de los metadatos, compilando la información de cada objeto digital para facilitar su búsqueda. Para asegurar la estandarización del contenido, se implementó Dublin Core para los documentos textuales e imágenes y PB Core para audios y audiovisuales. También se elaboraron las guías descriptivas que proveen información contextual a los objetos digitales, ubicándolos en tiempo, espacio y relación con otros materiales, siguiendo los estándares internacionales. Como parte del proyecto, trabajamos con documentos audiovisuales, principalmente películas de 16 y 35 milímetros y videos en formato VHS. Para estos documentos se hace una selección e inspección del material, seguido de un minucioso proceso de limpieza y reparación. Los rollos pequeños se preparan en tortas para facilitar su captura y luego se corrobora la identificación del material y se digitaliza fotograma por fotograma. Una vez listo, se exportan los formatos de preservación, intermedio y acceso y se actualizan los metadatos. La fase final del proceso de digitalización culmina en la preparación de los grupos de datos para importar al servidor de resguardo y al repositorio digital para acceso a la comunidad. Es así como transformamos nuestro patrimonio documental y colocamos nuestra historia a tu alcance. Disfruta de las colecciones digitales del Archivo General de Puerto Rico.
I know it was in Spanish, but basically what I was trying to explain in the video is how we just don't digitize a document. You need first to do preservation. Depending on the condition, you will have to maybe move it into the conservation lab so they can stabilize it and make it safe to digitize. In the digitization lab, we have two different cameras, one that can capture up to 60 inches. And then we have another one that does smaller captures. And after the images are captured, we do follow the FATG guidelines developed by the federal government. These for us provide a guideline into how we can actually confirm that what we are capturing is accurate in terms of the color and the focus of the image, and we implement different digital preservation standards. And specifically, when we are capturing the image, we make sure that we select a format that will last into the future, but we also do in the QC area, dissemination formats. For example, we can create a JPEG or we can do a PDF, and those are the ones that the public will see. In the QC, we also confirm that the document has all the pages, that all the what is supposed to be in the image is there. We know that in the ambient, we can maybe, there might be a hair or something that it doesn't belong to the image. So the QC team is responsible to make sure that the image that you're seeing is accurate, or the most accurate version of the record themselves, because we want you to experience the digital record as if you were experiencing the physical record. We know it's impossible, but that's why when you go into the web page, you won't see that we crop the image to be perfect. You will see that the image has a little outside black border, because we do want you to know that we didn't cut anything out of it. We do want you to see the imperfections of the document, because in the end, that's how the historical record is as of today, and we want to share that with everybody. We also work with metadata, and the metadata is important because it's what we do to provide you the access to the digital records. And we finish this with uploading into the digital repository, or putting it also in the preservation repository. So now we're just gonna do a little show up of what are the colecciones digitales and how you can take advantage of these collections. You can get access through Google. It's very simple. When you enter the first time, you will get actually here. So what we have is a very informative webpage, and you can find different ways to get to the records. But if you want to go straight to it, all you have to go is through the research area. In here, you can see the different collections that are available and are being digitized. You can find information on how to navigate the web page. And also you can find information about the little project itself that we did in the Melon as a learning activity for everybody to understand that it takes time, it takes professionals to do what we're doing. So once you're in the web page, this is what you will see. You have a basic search bar. In here, you can search by word, or you can use two words, like one next to the other one, and it will bring you the most accurate or close. Forgot the world. So you have different finding resources. The first one you will see is all these faceted. You can look by collection. You can find by places, and this will filter. It will begin in Puerto Rico, and then you will find up to the barrio or the sector where the document is, if it says. Also by kind of object. In here, maybe you just want to explore what we have in the audiovisuals or what is in the photographic collection, so you can also do that search. By language, the different records that we have by dates. The little topics, different topics that you can find. This one we created because some of the records we may still not be able to show them on the web page, but they were digitized and you can see them here physically in the research room. But you can find the metadata online, and who was the person that created it, and who maybe collaborated into making the record accessible. In here, you can also organize the content by right now is by the most recent one that was uploaded. So every time we upload content, this changes by the date or by the title of the object. Once you are inside the object, you can see the description of the object, who created it, and all the other metadata. You can expand the records. You can see it in fuller screen. Like this one I'm showing you, it's an inventory that we finished uploading. Some of the records are already available to search inside. So maybe if you have a word that you're looking specifically, you will type it, and then it will bring you exactly in the record where it is available. Let's see if I can see. And we implemented this recently. You can just browse the collection. Maybe you don't really know what you're looking for, or if you just want to go into a specific record, let's say that I'm just going to go back to the collection of like photographs. So let's see the police records, for example. You can get here, and then you will enter one photograph. And then you just want to see them all. So all you have to do is click, and it will bring you to all the different items. Another one of the most recent upgrades that we did this year is this button here that is called Colecciones. So in here, you can also find the information that is on the public webpage. But in here, you can actually see the objects contextualized. Like, for example, let's see one that is like San Juan. San Juan has a few. So in here, you can see by the collection, but you can also look into like the different series or sub-series, and you can click, and then in here, all the contextual information is there. So you learn more about the records that you're seeing. But if you go to this tab, you can actually see the records related to that specific area that you're seeing, and also apply the different filters that are on the main page. So this is for us one of our favorite things, because one of the most hard things related to archival materials when they are digitized is that they get this contextualized from their whole system, and they're just presented as an object. So we wanted people to still know and learn where they were coming from. So this is one of the latest updates that we did. And if you just want to go back to the page, you will go here to where our logo is and continue to explore. Here, I'm sharing recent publications. We are also looking into different alternatives to disseminate what is going on here in the archive. You can see we already have 3 boletines. The recent one is here in the QR code. And we have the archivists, the students, the interns, the volunteers, the people that work directly with our projects. They provide content, and they provide you a behind the scenes of what is going on, how we process a collection, some of the challenges that we may have encountered, or for example, some interns that have experienced archives from the first time. How are they navigating the collection? So I invite you to take a look into them. I also invite you to register. We have a bunch of activities going on, so you can get into our listserv through this constant contact link or the QR code. And if you haven't never seen the web page of the archive, this is your simplest way to get there. You can also find us in Google. And that's it. I'm ready for questions and to start the conversation.